Now, bear with me a second or two while I take a moment to reminisce. Cue wavy transition. The memories of our teenage years. Well, for me, it's more like the pre-teen years. I'm lying in my bed and I've just put a poster on the wall of a girl that I've got a crush on. She's probably somebody that I'll never meet, but there she is on my wall. And I can hear her singing to me, "I think we're alone now." Yes, that girl was the pop star Tiffany, and alongside another pop star in Debbie Gibson, they were my young heart's desires. Tiffany would make a huge splash on the charts with her debut album, but then would, for the most part, drift off into the distance, eclipsed by a million other pop singers from the 80s. Now, I stumbled upon Tiffany's B-side collection after I went to a record fair last year and picked up the single for "I Saw Him Standing There." And there, proudly on the front, it says, contains 2 new songs not available on the LP, cassette, or CD. And I had to wonder if there were more songs that weren't on her first album. Turns out there was a lot. So today we are putting the spotlight back on the redhead star singer and checking out a song that should have been, perhaps, on her debut release. And yes, I unashamedly own the original LP. But we also asked the question, is there a lost Tiffany album? Welcome to Should Have Been on the Album. Should have been on the album. Tiffany Renee Darwish was born in Los Angeles on October 2nd, 1971. She began singing at the age of 4 and would debut on stage at the age of 10. In 1984, Tiffany signed a recording deal with George Tobin after he heard her sing on a demo tape. She would come second in Star Search in 1985, and by 1986 was recording her first studio album, having been signed by MCA Records. However, in doing so, she signed over total control of her career to Tobin. This would have ramifications in the very near future. Tiffany's first single, Danny, failed to chart, but on the back of a nationwide tour of shopping malls, her second single, I Think We're Alone Now, would race to number 1. Third single, Could Have Been, would also do the same, while the cover of I Saw Her Standing There would score her a top 10 place. She would also set a record as the youngest female artist to top the Billboard charts. Right at the top of her popularity, that dodgy contract would come back with a bite and led to a court battle with Tobin. In 1988, Tiffany released her second album, Hold an Old Friend's Hand, but it couldn't replicate the success of her debut. With changing musical tastes, Tiffany would try and adapt with 1990s new Inside, having elements of New Jack Swing and R&B. And in 1993, she would reunite with Tobin for Dreams Never Die. I guess time heals all wounds, right? However, these releases would fail to reignite the popularity of her first album. Nevertheless, Tiffany would continue to work. Come the 2000s, she released The Color of Silence, which was reviewed well, with Billboard ranking it in the top 10 best albums of the year. Album 6, Dust Off and Dance, would appear in 2005, and 2007 would see the album Just Me released, this time as a singer-songwriter. Tiffany would pivot to country music in 2011 with Rose Tattoo, and then fuse pop and rock with 2018's release, Pieces of Me. Tiffany has continued to record albums and tour throughout the years, and has a dedicated following. Indeed, her total album count is 11, not including compilations, and for any recording artist, that is quite a feat. She's also had acting roles on TV and in film. But today, we head back to her first album, the one that set it all in motion, and look at a B-side that didn't make it. The song, No Rules. No Rules was written by John Duarte and Mark Paul, and produced by George Tobin. It appeared on the flip side of I Think We're Alone Now, as well as Tiffany's first single, Danny. It was sometimes coupled with a dub version of the A-side. According to Wikipedia, Tiffany recorded more than 40 songs for that first album, but only 10 of them were chosen. So my guess is that this one was one of those 40. Lyrically, the song finds Tiffany thinking back to a previous relationship, but one that she wasn't so sure about.
It's alright if you really love me. It's my life, and I really wanted you that night.
Still, she remembers that when she needed him the most, he was there.
When my heart goes, you answer me. Better when I slowly, you were there for me.
But there's something that's just not sitting right with her heart.
Walking through the streets, the echo of my footsteps in time. In between the beats, told me that you'd always be mine. Baby, can I trust you like I'm ready to?
Yet she so desperately wants to feel true love.
All my life been living on the same dream. Sometimes it seems so real. All my love I held deep inside me. I wanted to feel.
Ultimately, she knows that the rules of love are different for everyone, to the point where there might be no rules at all.
There's no rules in love. Can't you see? No rules in love for you and me. No rules in love.
Ouch. This could be a song of longing, a song of breaking up, or a song of let's get together and see what happens. And the fact that the lyrics can be read like that makes it a little slice of teenage poetry. Taylor Swift, eat your heart out. Musically, the song sits more in the rock territory than the single it shares vinyl with. It's got a great riff, and the production values seem to be much higher with a more organic sound. There's a great guitar solo as well, and the backing vocals are clean and tight. Tiffany's vocals are stellar, belying her young age, and she seems to be far more comfortable in this zone. Yep, she's channeling a bit of Pat Benatar, a little bit of Stevie Nicks, and a little bit of Heart. And you know what? It works. Tiffany's voice can definitely handle gutsier songs than what's on most of her album. No Rules is a killer track, and it allows Tiffany to really show off what she can do. And she does it really well. So, let's find out if No Rules can find a spot on Tiffany's debut. We keep all 5 singles, the classic I Think We're Alone Now, the brilliant Could Have Been, the failed first single Danny, which is not a bad song to be honest, it's just maybe not single worthy, the possibly ill-advised cover of I Saw Him Standing There, and final single Feelings of Forever. The Beatles cover is probably not one of the shining moments of the album. It feels forced, and possibly falls into the same uncomfortable category of songs that really shouldn't have been covered, along with I Love Rock and Roll by Britney Spears, or Miley Cyrus singing Smells Like Teen Spirit. But I digress. That leaves the remaining 5. Side 1 has Should Have Been Me opening the album, and hints at Tiffany's country roots. And Spanish Eyes reminds me a little bit of Amy Grant. Kid on the Corner is a solid album track. On side 2, you've got probably the weakest songs of the album. Johnny's Got the Inside Moves and Promises Made. For my part, Johnny's Got the Inside Moves is the weakest. It's repetitive and doesn't really go anywhere. So that means Johnny would go, but putting No Rules in that space wouldn't work with the flow of the album. Instead, I'd open the whole album with No Rules. It really does show off Tiffany's vocals, and it's a killer track. If you then put Should Have Been Me at track 7, this allows for a nice fast, medium, slow sequence, while also breaking up the programmed keyboard sound that's most of side 2. It would make the album much stronger and allow Tiffany to be seen less as a plastic pop star and more of the legit vocalist she is. I think AllMusic.com fan reviewer Aubrey Bloom expressed it best, saying that this album lacks Tiffany's creative control and could have been more of an album about her. Tiffany's debut isn't perfect by any means, but it's fun, and could have been better with a little bit more of her own personality in it. No Rules deserve to be a part of Tiffany's debut album, and there's no doubt about that. It's such a strong song, and it could have been the opening song of the album, and maybe even a single itself. The B-side of Tiffany's singles from that first album really do tell a story of their own, and I could have chosen any number of them. In fact, when you add them all together, there's a total of 7 non-album B-sides. There's obviously No Rules, The Heart of Love from Could Have Been, Gotta Be Lovin' Mr. Mumbo from I Saw Him Standing There, the single that I have. Can't Stop a Heartbeat, which popped up on the Japanese release of I Saw Him Standing There, even if the song does sound an awful lot like Boys of Summer. And Out of My Heart and Heart Don't Break Tonight from Feelings of Forever, the final single. Now, all you have to do is add 3 more and you've got a whole new album. As mentioned before, Tiffany recorded more than 40 songs for this first release. That's a lot of material, and it does make you wonder what could have been. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. However, to be honest, I don't know if any of the other B-sides that I've mentioned were good enough to be on the final album. No Rules is by far the strongest. So what do you think? Are you a fan of Tiffany, and do you have memories of her being atop the charts? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you have an idea for a B-side or a rare track that you reckon I should check out, please let me know. You can also email me on shouldvebeenonthealbum@gmail.com and share your thoughts and stories. We're also on Facebook. But until next time, my name is Drew, and you've been watching Should Have Been on the Album. Cheers. Now, I stumbled upon Tiffany's B-side collection after I went to a record but right at the top of her popularity, that dodgy Indeed, her total album count is 11, not including. Let's try that again. Tiffany has According to Wikipedia, Tiffany recorded more than 40 albums for that first 40 albums, 40 songs, 40 albums, no. Ooh.